Hey, this is Chris Casalino, the co-founder and head of services at Uptown Creation, a B2B marketing and business development company. Today we're talking about why you should never send a message in a connection request on LinkedIn. And so we've done a lot of testing and we've been on LinkedIn for, years and years now and seen kind of how bots and automation and all of that has evolved to the point where it's at right now. And there, if you've ever spent time on LinkedIn, I'm sure you've realized that there is a lot of spam on the platform and just, messages that go out without a whole lot of meaning. I'm sure everybody who is watching this video at one point or another has received a connection request from somebody that you just know is going to try and sell you something. And it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. You end up not connecting with that person. There's downstream effects that are negative by you not accepting that connection request for the person who sent it. So it's just a bad idea to send a message in the connection request. And so to further that, I like to stockpile connection requests in my own inbox just so I can go through and have good examples of the dirty words not to use, as well as how many people send out just these generic messages with all of the same buzzwords. So words like, let's connect, thanks for connecting, I'd love to add you to my network, I think we could mutually benefit. And if you're ever thinking about sending a message like that in a connection request message, it's better off just to send something like this where there is no message at all. And there's no harm, no foul then. You have no risk of it being deemed as spammy. So to make matters worse, if you are somebody like myself that receives, hundreds of connection requests on a weekly basis, you're going to learn without even knowing it that connection requests you receive with a message are going to go past your filter, and you're just going to filter them out before you're even recognizing them. Now, there is a small subset of connection request messages that I think are all right, and I'll touch on that at the very end of this video. But for 99.99% of connection request messages, you're going to get something like this that says, "Dear Chris, I'm so-and-so, a leading product development. It'd be great to connect with you." So something super generic there. Again, another pitch within the connection request message talking about OLED and LCD. "I found your profile in the recommendations while I was on LinkedIn, so I thought that we should connect." There's another buzzword is, "I found your LinkedIn recommended to me that I should connect with you." "I will be glad to become a part of your network." So another buzzword, network, that we're seeing again. And, the list goes on and on of all these connection requests that are saying messages that are also similar. And so why is that happening? The reason why is if you Google what to do on LinkedIn or guide to LinkedIn, they all say pretty much the same thing. And they don't really give a whole lot of instruction on how to send a connection request other than you do it, you message the person, and everything works out from there. And you start doing B2B business or B2C business, whichever you are in the space of. But what most guides fail to do is tell you how other people are using it and using LinkedIn as a platform to then allow you to avoid those bad habits. And so what bots and automation have done is make it so when you're setting up the bot, it's kind of difficult to not send a message in the connection request, especially if you're not on LinkedIn, you're on like the bots platform. It makes sense to send a message if you're doing that. So for that reason, you get a ton of the bots and automation sending connection request messages, which then makes it so everybody's subconscious is, if there's a connection request message, I know that that person is more likely than not trying to spam me, sell me, and is just not going to be a genuinely good connection. So with that being said, what should you do? Whether you're using normal, regular old LinkedIn or you're using the sales navigator, what you should do is just send a connection request with no message in it. So literally just going down the list and instead of typing something in there, sending the invitation. And now what will happen is it will show up like this connection request does. There's nothing in there making it so I want to be swayed away from it. Now, though, it becomes a lot more important to read that person's title, headline, and look at their profile picture, because you can tell a lot from there, right? I can tell I help enterprise executives implement remote work environments, that this guy's probably going to sell me. I can tell from 5 years in lead generation, even though there's no message with this, I can tell that this person's probably going to try to sell me. Not to mention the profile picture is pretty bad. So this probably wouldn't be somebody that I would accept their connection request anyways. But when you get, good profiles that are sending you a connection request, people are going to be a lot more likely to accept that if there is no message that they have to filter out and avoid. So I mentioned that there is one scenario where I think sending a message in the connection request makes sense. And that's if you're going to make it super, super personalized. And you need to get to the point as fast as you can. You want to avoid like the hi, Chris, I'd be glad to connect with you. This is why. You want to just make it be whatever point you're trying to make. So, if you were at a conference with somebody and you grabbed a drink with them and you want to remind them of that, or 2 years ago you were at a conference with somebody and grabbed a drink with them and want to remind them of that, or you saw somebody's YouTube video and you want to say that, I think it would be fine to say, hey, I saw your videos on YouTube and thought you would be a good person to reach out to. And saying something like that, that's going to capture the person's attention who's reading it. But that's the key, is you really need to make sure that you don't have any fluff that would stop that person from clicking the see more. Because, this person could have said, I found your profile through our YouTube research, but I would never see that. I know that it's going to say our mutual connections. Let's see if I'm right. And I am correct, just because people use the same things to nauseam on LinkedIn, which is what you start to realize when you spend some time on the platform. So my goal is to use the time that I spend on LinkedIn, because that's all I do literally all day long, and provide everybody with a shortcut to success on the platform by pointing out all of the bad practices that I see across the hundreds of accounts that I work with, and making it so you guys have more information that you can kind of skip over those bad practices, hear something that is actually valuable, and then capitalize on it. So I know this was more of a ranty video, and I didn't go super in depth into a number of topics, but I went really in depth into why you should never send a connection request message when you're sending a connection request. Just send the request and let that be it. Let your profile do the talking for you. Let your profile picture, let your headline. If somebody's going to click into your profile, let your bio and your featured section and all of that do the talking for you. And 9.9 times out of 10, you're going to be better off because you chose to do it that way. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. That's probably the best way for me to get back to you as quick as possible. Subscribe to this channel and feel free to look us up at uptowncreation.com.